Hello, folks. I'm terribly sorry I'm late. Here's what we're doing today. I'll tell you why in a minute, okay? Well, that was quite a mammoth intro, wasn't it? But it's by way of explaining what we're doing because it's called painting impression. The reason I'm late is I could not get my layout to go into a landscape mode. And I'm doing landscapes. I need landscape mode. So it's just there's some new setting, especially for YouTube, I think, that it took me a few minutes to work out. So apologies for that. But I'm always here on Fridays at 2 p.m. unless something extraordinary happens, and I normally give you a warning, or unless I'm doing a bonus live stream or something. So yeah, today's thing is sorry, I'm going back onto the comment section because I have to watch the comment section today for reasons I explained last week. During the week, I was doing some plein air or outdoors painting or sketching. It was sketching actually. I wasn't doing any painting. And after a winter of just continuous rain from like late October onwards and raining on and off again today, the minute I saw sunshine, I was going to head out, wasn't I? So even within those days, like it rained as well, and everybody all over Europe is saying this, that the weather is just has been horrendous, you know. So I'm starting out a bit later than usual, doing outdoorsy expeditions to paint and draw. But what I want to do today is I managed to do three drawings, right, from two different days during the week, and I uploaded a couple of shorts about those, but my little intro at the beginning here showed a few of the places I went to, three different spots that I went to, just very briefly. And it's fitting in a way that it's very brief because uh, I I was only, doing sketches that were maybe an hour would be the most on one of the sketches. It wasn't time in it or anything, but I didn't come away with any color notes that were any use or photographs that were any use because you know the way it is when you do landscape. Quite often you'll get a photograph. In my case, the sun was just not in the right spot to light up the picture the way it looked to me. And I always have that problem with photos anyway, they're never satisfactory to me. So, what I want to do today is a bit makey uppy actually, because I want to do sort of color painting, but kind of impressions just from what I remember of being there. So I want to capture the feeling of the place and the feeling of the color and everything, but um, without having very good notes. So just impressions of the places. So there's one of the places which was a bank of trees. These were all in the intro. If you really want to see at the end whether things turn out giving you the feeling that they did me when I was there, you could always just rerun the very, very beginning of the video, or I played the intro at the end. But I'm going to try and do three quick impressions within the next hour of these places. And this one, for example, the light was coming from behind it and it looked great to me when I was there. But in a photograph, it just looked completely different. So I think it's sometimes appropriate to do something without very much groundwork, just using your memory and everything. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I only have this thing here because to get the paper I'm working up on a height. And just before I start, I want to show you other paper things because remember I said I was going to make a botanical sketchbook. Well, I'll just have to crinkle things for a minute. I'll show you this while I'm crinkling. That's some of the paper I'm using. This is a little guideline for sewing the holes in to the binding of the sketchbook. And I had made a front and back cover for the sketchbook. I used some of the nice new paper I got as well. I finally sacrificed my favorite book of botanical sketches, 17th century Japanese sketches. I've savaged a few pages out of that scrapbook to use for the back cover and the front cover of my sketchbook. But I have a few signatures cut now to the right size. And then I have a kind of an unusual arrangement here because this is a watercolor paper that I bought, but it was an A4 size. And it occurred to me that when I'm putting it down to the right size, an interesting thing to do might be I'm going to put the binding holes in there, but to leave some of this on could be advantageous because if I'm going out sketching or I do a sketch elsewhere and I want to stick it into this botanical notebook, it seems the right kind of thing to put into my botanical sketch pad. I can use double-sided tape along this edge and add pages of sketches that are they're not the full size of the page in afterwards. So I like that. So that's probably going to be the size of the sketchbook unless I decide to put different sorts of paper in. And I'd want to decide soon because I'm thinking about doing some of the cutting for that tonight. So even though I'm not getting out and about much, I am still busy. Hang on, I have more signatures hanging around here. What did I see? I have 4 sheets per signature because it's such thick paper. One, two, three, four, 5 signatures, and another one of the watercolor papers. It's going to be taking off a little sketch pad. So I just wanted to show you that because I was telling you I was going to make a sketch pad and I don't know how to do the copy binding yet, but that's the plan to do it with the Coptic binding. So that's why the binding isn't going to go all the way around the edge. You're going to see the stitching inside. But the advantage of that sort of sketch pad is that it lays out flat. So although it's not a great size for live streaming, a bit like vertical layout wasn't that great for live streaming today, and it had me late. It is a good size for doing botanical sketches in it. So the needs of the sketchbook that I need come first. But the sketchbook I'm using today for doing these is a smooth heavyweight. It's not as heavy as the paper I had in that. That was 300 GSM, which is the weight, and this is 220. But this should be fine for painting. So we'll do 3 different sheets on this. I like this paper actually. And I love working with my washes. I was working with acrylics during the week and still haven't finished that flippin' camellia painting, which has one more day's work on it. And then I will give up on it forever because I'm just sick of it. Trying to get this in shot that you can see this in shot as well. If I back up, we won't get the nice high definition I seek, but yet, no, I can't do it that I can get them both in shot and get everything in focus as well. So we'll have to work. Now, this is the other weird thing that happened as well before with the live stream. I'm sort of all over the place because I lost this palette for the gouaches, and I'll just spritz my gouaches. Um, and I love this palette. It's so nice for working, and I think it's kind of a stay wet one, but it's just such a nice size and so handy. And I must say, this set of gouaches, they're the nicest thing to work with, and I appreciated them so much after working with the acrylics during the week because every time I turned around, the acrylic had dried, and I was working on the camellias, were a very fiddly kind of a thing to be working on. And today is going to be a lovely day off from those camellias because it was very sort of intense, focused work I was doing on those. And you know yourself when you struggle with the painting that it just becomes this kind of burden after a while, nearly a burden, you know. Okay, so the first picture I'm working with is this group of trees that was like in a sort of a long layout, and there were a lot of really dark, deep colours. And then another bit that interested me was the grey branches running through those dark colours. So I'm hoping the Hemis do dry a bit like acrylics today, in that I want to lay on light colours on top of dark colours. And um so I want to do work biggish, okay? Now for this, I usually need if I can find it. You see, you're running late, you sort of get yourself in a tizzy, but you don't really need to be in a tizzy. Okay, so I'm going to use my palette knife just to keep things nice and clean, but I want to start with very dark colors because there are a lot of blacks and deep browns, but there's kind of the very bright sky color showing through, peeping through the trees as well in a couple of sections. So I want to have that showing as well. I'm not gonna sketch this in first. I just want to do this all with color really. So let's get some color out. I'm gonna need some black, and I am gonna need a thing for wiping my brush with. Yeah, it was so annoying. So many things going wrong. And then I was kind of rushed because I was doing stuff this morning, which was spring cleaning sort of stuff, which I hate doing anyway. And it got me in kind of a bit of a sort of frantic headspace. Then I was trying to fit in planting some things because it's March now and I need to keep planting things. Let's have some dark brown as well. And I am motoring through the colours in this set because I like the set so much and I use it so often. And it's because of how convenient it is. You don't have to squeeze tubes or anything. And okay, I'm having to lay out a palette here, but I'm not. I can see the colours I want right in front of me, which is so handy. So I don't know. Probably I will end up getting another set after this one, just the same, and then I'll keep the box of this one, and even keep the little individual trays that the colors come in, and just reload the trays whenever I get any um, other gouaches, and treat every gouache I get like a jelly gouache because I think it's because of the deep pans that these stay wet. Possibly, not sure. Get loads of white out. We always need loads of white. And I need a few blues because it's landscape, and I'm doing um sort of a bit of background sky in it. I only need, I'll have a little bit of this cyan, but look at how little I have left of some of the colours. This is getting serious, folks. But luckily, this is a very affordable set. So that's a very cyany blue. I want to have some of this darker blue as well. And the other thing with these colours is you don't mind using a lot of them, really. And while you can't get individual colours in it too handy, unless you're kind of prepared to write to the factory to try and order them from Japan, um, you can buy the set again and then work off your old colours and not take the plastic lid off the new colours until you've finished the old ones. So there isn't much waste on these. I really like that about them. Now I need more browns as well if I'm doing those branches, and then I need foreground colours. Do I have enough blues? I might take a bit of a purple out. And I'll probably end up, because there's so many colours in this, I'll probably end up um, reaching for other colours that I haven't taken out yet. So that is going to be a nice sienna colour for the trees, but there are birches in there and they're grey. So uh, no, the only other colour I need at the moment is a foreground colour, which is an ochre. I need a lot of. So that should get me started, all right, and I can just reach in and get individual other bits as I need them. And I'm being very precious with my tabletop over here because I you can't really see it properly, but I actually got a new cover on my drawing board. I hope you like it, and I'm hoping to keep it clean, but it's I don't think I have much hope of that. All right, so now let's have a look at this sketch and commune with it for a minute before we start painting. So I'm going to get some really dark color laid down and yeah, maybe just not think about it, just do it. Okay, so I'll just give you a minute to look at it and then I'll start. Yeah. So I'm not going to remember it the way it was, really. I'm starting off with the round brush, some very dark brown, and I'm doing the very watercolory thing. Hang on, I'll bring that down so I'm not reaching over the white. So because it's the jelly gouache, I can start off with the watercolory feeling. So I can sort of draw with the brush a little bit, which I like. And I'm not going to draw too much there because I'm going to lay in a lot of the blue. Now, some of those trees had ivy growing on them because ivy is a parasitic kind of a plant. But it added nice colour into some very deep browny, and then over here there was a bush that was a reddy kind of a bush. So it's kind of a big tangle of things. So to decide where you want your shapes, where you want your colour is challenging. And I'm leaving some of the area down in the foreground for mixing. I'll probably only go down to about maybe here-ish in the sketch. So this is going to be quite a long painting because you probably saw last week I was kind of into that format. I'm liking that format. And in fact, I'm thinking of making another sketch pad that's a long format landscape sketch pad. Think I'd like that. You see this kind of size, maybe not that quite that long, but sort of because I want it to be still easy to manage out in the field, but kind of that size. And hopefully, if I learn the Coptic binding trick, okay, I can do that one in Coptic binding as well. And that means that I can fold it completely backwards on itself if I need to. So you see when I'm doing that fast. You can get nice marks when you're doing things fast. So, I'm somewhere between watercolors and acrylics at the moment in my approach, but gonna change as I go along. So I want to get a flat brush. And this is a more acrylic brush because it's not as soft as the other, but obviously for this medium, I can use either watercolory type brushes or I'm going into the yellow ochre now, or um, acrylic type brushes happily. So it's really very adaptable, this medium, and perfect for sketching. Absolutely perfect for sketching. I love it. Now, this is too strong a color for me, but just to get the initial thing down, I am trying for 3 different pieces in an hour. I don't mind if I'm not exactly on the hour on the button doing it, but I'm aiming for an hour. I'm going to put in this more ready bush in the side and just suggest the color. And we'll work back into things afterwards. Other things I want to have in color wise: blue for the sky behind the trees, and green, which I don't have any green out of my palette at the moment, but we'll see what we need when we get there. So there's the kind of cyany blue, which is that nice morning blue, but there were a few blues in the sky, right? So I don't know that that's the only blue. Now, in here, in the drawing, I remember that in here there was some light coming through of blue, but there are other fields and trees behind this as well. So I don't know how it was happening so far down, but it kind of was. So there must have been gaps in the other trees, and there was definitely over to the right of this, there was a little mountain showing somewhere as well. So there was a feeling in that scene of um, being able to see in the far distance as well as um, just what was happening up here. But I do want to get some of the back trees showing as well. Now, to me, that's already looking nice. And I like the enlivening effect of some of the white because it looks like kind of clouds. So I'm going with that. And going to get some more of my cyan out. The hair stuck to the palette. I'm always at that. So I do want to get some little bit of the idea of background showing through in places. Um, and obviously, I'm not dealing with any of the little fence posts or anything like that in the foreground. But they are an important part of my memory of the place, my impression of the place. So now, so at the moment I have all blue showing in the background. I don't want that. Do I want to get another brush so that I don't have to keep cleaning brushes? That might be an idea. If I had another one that was a stiff one like this, I do. That one might be a nice one. I don't want to, you notice I'm sticking to fairly big-ish brushes at the moment. Um, Now, there's a color that I might get out now, a red, and it is a kind of an alizarin red that I want, and that's because I want some of the trees in the background to start being put in, but I don't want them sort of behaving the same as the foreground. And I'm trying to use the side of the brush to do this. And I might actually use that bigger brush again. Hang on. I do this all the time. I do this kind of looking for the perfect brush for job thing. I never really find it. Mixing some more sky blue and a little bit of black, just to make it kind of a grayish color. And that's not what I'm looking for. No. Trying to get the idea that the light is hitting the thing in the back, the tree in the back as well. Um, and have this kind of show through slightly. And I don't want to get too fussy, but at the same time, I want to get the color impressions that I was seeing. And I just drag that. Oh, that's more like. So there's this kind of looking for marks as well. And that little brush, it's very soft now. I wouldn't be able to use it in oils like this very effectively, but that little brush is good for that particular effect. And have I got another one that I can use on its side? Because I'm getting really into this at the moment, this using square brushes on their side. I like that for just doing linear stuff and also for dragging across. Okay, so I don't want to get too involved in that one. I want to move on to doing some green. You see how easy it is to just start settling into something, too early, and it's not a finished painting I'm doing, so I have to keep pulling myself back from the brink of doing it all the time. So let me just get this really this these boughs here are really dark. So I want to get some of that going on. And it's a bit of a drawing situation. And I'm using the brush in two different ways here. So we have brown going over with black, and it's starting to get a bit heavier what's happening. And I'm going into drier paint as well. Now you see the way I picked up a little bit of blue from the sky. I like that. So the fact that this paint is I'm putting it on very dry, it's nice because I still got the drawing feeling of things. I can still work with that drawing feeling, and I'm gonna put in some of the structure for those little posts and come back and do something with the color of them in a minute. But I want to get the structure of the trees as well. All the time fighting to stay loose. It really is a fight for me at the moment because I haven't worked a little bit tight on something for a while now. I'm still in that kind of mode. So this part of this exercise here is to get me out of that mode a bit. So wish me luck getting out of it. I'm going to get a bit more blue established, poking through there. And you might think, oh, you'll never get at this pace, you'll never get three done in an hour. I might, because I might, like, suddenly get looser, you see. Um, I find my feet in this just doing quick impressions. It is kind of an exercise that I'm doing, freeing me up type exercise. And I don't know will it work or not, but we'll see. I can't go so quick that I'm just not doing anything of any use at all. Just lighten up the top of the other trees again. And this kind of paint does darken very slightly as it dries as well. So I'm sort of wasn't aware of that particularly when I started using them, but I became more aware of it the more I used them. Oops. Sorry, my hand is sticking to that. So I want to get this making sense behind that. Okay, and I'm bringing some of that into the foreground. So you can kind of see now I'm working with some of the colors that I already had on my palette that are starting to get mixed up a bit now, but I'm also doing things like mixing my alizarin red and my green to get some dark, what I would call dark neutrals, um, in those very warm shadows, just to do cooler things with them. And then I'm going to come up and make it a grey with that neutral to just go in here. And I actually might do it very slightly darker. See, I got my posts going on now, you see, in some spots. And, they are a part of the painting. They're adding to the rhythm of it a bit. Okay, so I'm going back into the really dark browny blackies. I'm doing a bit more sort of sketching type things. Now, if you see the palette down here, it's getting muckier. So I'm using some of those nice mucky colors for some of these darks. And I'm going to come up and do some of my um, ivy bit in that. So I have two boughs that are covered in ivy, and they're brighter on one side than the other, but I actually have a little bit of black stuck to the edge of the brush, which I'm liking for that. So I'm trying to think in darks and lights as well as just overall colors so that I can get the overall impression of the thing, because the overall impression obviously is created from where the light and dark is as well as the color. So having to generalize, but that's okay. And there's always going to be some bits I don't know I don't know what's going on up there, what color that was or anything up there. I'm, I have to decide how I see that in my mind. This here, I'm kind of happy with that way of seeing it. So I might go with that, sort of burnt sienna and ochre kind of mixed feel. I don't want to paint detail um, so much as the general shape of the things. But I am trying to keep some of the lacy feeling of the tip tops of the tree. And I might get a more ultramarine blue going for in between there. Because a tiny little shift in colour can be nice. Then I'm going back in with burnt sienna and fade it down into the black, you see. So that gives it a bit more structure, I think. A little bit braver a structure. My screen went black. Sorry about that, folks. I don't know why. It's just one of those days. But you'll be glad to know I did get the things planted. And I did get, whoops, a wet finger. I keep pulling it away. And I did get um, some of the horrible aspects of spring cleaning done in terms of things like removing dust from under my bed. All those kind of I have to go through all those jobs I really don't like doing. I find the housework the most pointless thing ever. Now I'm going to get more green because I want to do a zoomier green for some of the ivy because I my impression of the place was that there were zoomy bits, and I'm just moving where I am on the brush to get a kind of a little blocky triangle shape, and then I'm gonna add a little cyan in there as well because it's picking up some sky color, and then add a little ochre as well because I think this is just my personal view, but I think that when you're using greens, if you use just one green on something, it looks very straight out of the tube. Now, I don't think there was a huge amount of green going on in some of the grasses in the field, but there was a bit because spring hasn't really sprung, but some of the things are trying to go a bit green but failing. So I'm gonna have like a sense of some green coming in, but I'm gonna fade it back out. And I'm having to develop this bit before I move across to the what I think of, what my impression is, the most dramatic part of the picture. Hang on, I'm going to do something dramatic here actually to get me across. Just occurred to me that something like that might work. Getting me there a bit easier. Oh no, that's not working at all. The white isn't working. There are some really pale sections in here, but trying to do it with leaving some of that showing. And I'm trying to not clean my brush too much. Now that's a much deader color, but because the color is a very saturated ochre, if you can call ochre saturated, really, um, it did need some deader things to happen. However, having said that, I only get a very bright orange for the foreground color and just mix that in with white and modify the ochre with that color. This brush isn't quite doing what I want. If I had that lovely green brush, that might work. This brush was slightly wrecked, and when the paint starts drying on it, it then becomes a very good implement for doing grass. But you usually have to wait for the paint to dry slightly on it. I just got it by accident one day and said, "Oh, that's handy." Now I'm going to end up spending too long on this when really I'm just trying to get an impression. Just because I'm not getting this to work the way I want it to, and on the grass. So I don't want to spend all my time for the painting doing that. It's not bad, but it's not, it doesn't feel quite right yet. Yeah, I want some of these kind of springy greens going in a little bit. I always try to fit in too much into these streams, don't I? But it's good because it's forcing me to work fast. That's a bit better. Sorry, I should have taped down this nearly, but I didn't realize it'd be hopping all over the place. So you see the way it's not conveying anything when I leave it quite that loose. So to convey some of the scragginess of the field, I'm having to do some little bit of work. And to get this to work, this backgroundy, dramatic-y bit, um, this has to work in some way. You know, I've probably used up about 45 of my minutes just doing this, but like painting isn't a fast thing. What can I say? You know, in my defense, it's not a fast thing, and I really shouldn't be maybe trying to challenge myself to do things so fast. It certainly stopped me um focusing in on an area too much, didn't it? So I'm getting some pure orange out, and see the paints have made that very handy to do as well because they've got an orange ready mixed. Oh yeah. And although I tend to do a lot more mixing than is actually in the color, um, now I'm gonna fade it up into the black here and work back into the grass. Although I tend to do more mixing, um, it's nice to be able to just reach for the color when you're working really fast like this, you know. So I have a few very dramatic dark boughs here going in, disappearing into the grass. And you can sort of see why I put the blue in. And this section here in the middle, don't really know what was happening there. I think that's background stuff. I don't know. I'm just making it up as I go along. So I've decided that that background stuff is a very orangey sienna in this section with lighter foliage. This is all based, these impressions, right? A lot of them would be based on previous experiences with trees and sitting out there and the way they behave and everything. I wouldn't be getting it bang on, but this is kind of my stored memory bank of the way I have internalized how I see things. Okay. And it mightn't turn out exactly the way I see it either, but So this background tree is getting kind of bluer as the light hits it, is the way I've internalized what that looks like. So it has all those ochre shades in it, but if you look what I did, I mixed outwards from using all those colors and then mixed it outwards. So, if I had to tell you exactly how I made the shade, it might be difficult because it was made with the ochres and it's got a little bit of the green in it as well. And I'm liking that now. So I'm going to do some of that same color just to this side of that tree and behind a few things and just modifying little bits of the grass with it because I liked some of the details you see are what make a scene really beautiful. And I liked some of the dappliness going on in these darks. And although there were darks that were, and I'm going to use it now actually, a purple with the green mixed together to make a really dark neutral over here. Although there were those dark neutrals going on, there were lovely zoomy colors and beside them as well, making them really nice. And unlike the acrylics, I like these gouache when they dry very, very slightly so you can get a tackiness when you're picking them up because it can make for some very painterly effects. Um, and I was surprised how much difficulty I had with the acrylics. But then I thought, yeah, I've been so enjoying using the Hemis um, jelly gouache that I got a little bit spoiled with them, and they suit me, I think. Now, you see the way that post is just barely, I'm happier with that now because it's barely catching the light and catching a little bit of sunlight. So sometimes that impression is better than what was there. Not always. I think personally, I think the way it works might be that you go out and you paint it like 99 times out of 100 and you're not happy, but then you come home and just paint it from your impression the 100th time and you get something that feels like the place, maybe. I don't know. You see, I'm not finished it yet. I might be cursing it in a minute, but I'm liking it at the moment. Has a nice feel to it at the moment. And I'm working into this with really a warm dark brown that has some red in it and some black in it. And I want to get that a little bit wetter, but not that wet. I'm trying to control that line to make it thin but workable. I remember the tops of these as being incredibly lacy and intricate and nice. And I'm always trying to do pictures that the tops of trees don't go out off the edge like this. And I rarely succeed. So it must be something about my sense of composition that something in me just wants to not go to the edge of the subject. I don't know why. Because I did have the space on the page. I can't be just constantly misjudging it every time. There's a deliberateness to it, and sometimes your unconscious knows why you're doing something. So this is interesting because I don't know, can you see it? But there's warm color button up against very cool color in here. And I'm gonna actually play with that a bit. And I had little touches of a cool color going on in there in the middle of the shadow. Now I want to get that dark again because something very dramatic happens over here. That is the spread of this, which is really dark. But it's really dark, but it's got um, grey branches that show up a light grey in the shade. So you got these dark sections here, and then you've got light grey happening. So I'll have to sort of isolate them to find them. And I'm gonna, speaking of isolate things, I want to isolate the mountain over here, which is, in fact, I made that a little bit too grayish. I have a purple and my and a cyan blue for a bit of the mountain showing up in the background. Okay, so we've got a lot more dark verticals here, where there's a lot of trees happening here. And then there are all sorts of wonderful shapes up here, which you actually have to have a bit of a nerve to just go in and try and do them fairly immediately, because I don't know if there's a better way to do it, really. So over here on this side, I obviously had something, I was seeing some sort of backgroundy thing, but because I remember hills over here to the right of it, and I put the hill in my painting, you can't be kind of more backgroundy thing behind the hill. So the only thing that could happen here could be um, if I want any kind of a dark structure, would be something foliagey. So I'm going to come in here and do some foliagey stuff that's just kind of vaguey, vague, just feeling of foliage. And I am just messing. I'm not really used to working with that brush, but it's definitely getting a twiggy feel to it, you know. See, I like those little marks. They're kind of helpful. And what else? See the way this brush is gone now? It's got the tip of it has gotten all messed up. That might help me because it's got the dry stuff on it. No, it's not really working that great. It's not quite separated as much as I need. I did say to you last time, didn't I, that you can an old brush, you can savage them and get a thing like that with it. That's not bad. It just has a little bit too much um, showing between the branches. I want to have the branches a little bit less. That's better. I just didn't want the kind of big, thick, ignorant branches. I'll be an hour just on the one, won't I? But I'm determined to do three, so I'll stay till the grim end. Since till I get 3 done. Even if I get hungry in the middle of it, I'll do it. Because it's a lovely feeling at the end of a working day as an artist to say, yeah, I got things done today. Um, it's not a good feeling if you feel it's all rubbishy, but if you feel it had any value in it. So I'm just trying to find the edge of some of these things. And in the sketch, I like the way it was kind of finding a little bits of the sky in there. So I'm gonna keep tipping in bits of the sky in here. And you see the way the branches now, they're sort of going out and up that way. And I like that kind of swoop to them. Um, but I have to find edges of those branches and get more stuff happening. And I want a lot more white in that. So although it's a quick impression, I don't want it all to be um, cloudy and, I wanted to have some structure because I do have some structural stuff happening in the original thing, you know. Like I have all the info I need for all these dark bits, and that was to me that was one of the most interesting things. This the bits of darkness in it, and then shapes of branches against that darkness. I liked that. And again, I'm just making some more branches because there was a swooping this direction that happened. And more swoopiness with branches this way. Don't know that I've really conveyed any of the light grey properly there, but there's a little bit of a sense of it. So some of this stuff has to make sense in relation to what's happening with that mountain. And I think it's going to make more sense if I play with the green and ochre a little bit. Okay, so I'm actually standing up to try and get further back from it now. And it's not too bad. I'm probably going to stop because I think if I go on, I'll wreck some of the freshness of what I have, and I'll be spending too long in relation to what I had planned. So, it's not like a hugely finished looking thing. But it's interesting. Stop, 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 stop. Now, I did lose some posts and things that were going on in the original one that weren't in that, but I don't know. I think it's get maybe these two shapes are a little bit too um bearish compositionally. I don't know if you know what I mean, but it might be the darkness of them or something. They might just need a little more. They're a bit too kind of roundy, plunky, plunky. You see, these are the nuances in painting that you would maybe put in a day's work on, in another piece. Trying to break up some of the, but not for an impressionistic one. I wouldn't spend that long on it. Not for the exercise I'm doing today. I mean, there's nothing wrong with, wanting to work longer on this one. I'm not saying there is. But no, I don't want this to turn into another big painting because then I want to go back and get other references and things, and I don't want to because I had decided not to do that with this painting. But I am standing up now because I'm trying to make things in it um, work just as last touches. So I want to establish some of the really dark bits, some of the drama bits. See, to get my impression going. And I'm going to call it a day on that one. Yes, is you. So stop. It's very hard to stop. Terribly hard to stop once you've started. The desire to keep messing. However, okay, this is me stopping now, honest. Right, we're going to work on another one. So now the next one is in a different sketch pad. Why did I put it in a different sketch? I'm trying to remember. It'd be interesting to go back now to see that place, to see how far off it looks from the real thing. But like you won't really get it from the, even if I play the little intro as an outro, it didn't really look like what I was seeing. Um, that's a really tricky one. I might leave that till last. I'm 10 minutes over the time already. Okay, right. So we have to up the pace a bit. Okay. Can I do it in an hour and a half? I don't know. Right, so the next one I'm going to try is this was a little group of trees by the road. So look, if we have all our colours out of the palette. So I mean, how hard can it be, right? Now, some of the back, you see, I'm getting looser. So like the exercise is working. I'm caring less. It might seem a bit defeatist to be saying that, but that's part of the exercise to kind of stop caring enough for a while to really loosen up because you might get something really cool out of the just loosening up bit. And the fact that I have, colors on my brushes and my brushes are all dirtied up. This is all a plus. And I know that when I'm painting, if I'm doing an important painting, right, one that I've decided is important, um, towards the end of the day, when I'm tired, I sometimes do my best painting. And I reckon that has to do with that tiredness freeing you up a little bit to be in the not caring too much place. So look at the brushwork in this. Is that not nice? Do you not think that's nice brushwork? Just kind of sort of getting the paint down. Did you ever do Tom Sawyer thing and paint a fence or something, and then go into this dream state where you're kind of admiring how the paint is turning out in the fence instead of just getting the job done? Well, that's the kind of state that I'm talking about to an extent. So I'm carrying on my ochre theme because the field is in ochre and I'm trying to get it in the right place. This feels right. See, this feels better than the other painting. And I would be really happy to leave that painting like that. Look, that's beautiful. And I even love this edge. I'm not going to though, because that's not what this is about. But that feels like the place to me, except minus the trees. Now there was a road in the front, but actually that painting requires like a longer thing to feel right to me. So I'm not going to be getting the whole road right. Um, but I've certainly loosened up, haven't I? Done a great job at loosening up. And the palette is helping me by being manky. Don't worry about my book too much because a lot of that will wipe clean. And this is a book I use a lot for leaning on when I'm painting, so it's used to me treating it appallingly badly. I'm just trying to get rid of some of the white and this hue, paper, should I say. Now, I've always hated doing roads. Purple never really makes me happy, but in relation to those colors, it's okay. So let's go in and get some of the tree action in. And I'm running out of color, so I'm going to get more green down on my palette. And if you look at the consistency of the gouache on the palette now, it's dried out a little bit and it suits me better now like this, look, because it's like oil paint. So this is all giving me the go, as they say, to do oil painting. So this is great. This is what I wanted. I wanted a nice warm up for when I get out there and paint. Now look when you're loose, the lovely, lovely shapes you can get into a tree. You know, nice. And if I come at it with a brush that has a different color on it, also very nice, yeah. It's doing what it felt like the tree was doing, and it was actually doing that in my sketch as well. So um, I was happy with that effect. I liked it. So I'm going more into browns here. And it's going to be more of a brown story down here because there was also this bit of brown soil down here that was kind of a built up bank. There were weird things. There was it's a lovely detail, but I don't probably wouldn't be able to get it into this painting. I might just be able to get a little bit of white. There was a bathtub, an old bathtub that was there for feeding cows. Now we're rocking and rolling, so you should be able to see how I've loosened up a good bit from the last painting that I was doing. So that might persuade you of the usefulness of doing this, what I'm calling painting impression exercise. Because loose is good, but you can't just decide, oh, I'm going to do a really loose painting and do a really great one straight away. You might get lucky, but But now that I'm warmed up, then you sort of go, oh, I want to try and hold on to this feeling, and it disappears again. That's the frustrating and nice thing about painting. So I'm trying to get there's a little kind of another bit of fencing thing going on here, and I'm trying to indicate that. But I don't want to do an awful lot to indicate it either. If it just feels right, I'm happy. So, doing similar tree things in background. And you see how every time I change or I do it with my brush, something new happens. And some of it might be good, some might not be good, But we'll see what happens. And I'm gonna get a dry brush for this. So I have a big fan brush, and I'm just gonna do some draggy things. And I am sort of thinking about where the light was. And in the photos that I had a photo of this in the intro. Um, you could see the light was behind, but the light wasn't as far set looking in reality as it seemed to be from the photo. But I'm just trying to get that a little bit kind of softened down slightly while still having some structure in it. And that is part of the feeling of getting an impression of something, isn't it? Trying to get, well, how did it feel? So you're gonna have to experiment with, no, that's not it either, and just dragging things around and trying again. Like I liked what was happening here earlier, and part of me didn't want to lose it, but at the same time, I needed to modify it. So I kind of like some of the things happening in those trees, but I want to get more green involved again, but have it a nice grayish green, but it was all backgroundy thing. And I don't want to generalize either. I want to feel specifically what this thing did feel like. And I know that they felt sort of a grayer green as it moved down towards the edge of the field. I like that, and I like some of the draggy um, things, because that's a way of doing an edge of a field that I could have actually used there for that edge of the field and would have been more descriptive than the way I did the edge. Um, so that's a learning curve there, and it's just from working fast and getting it accidentally. So it's nice. So let's see what else we need to have happen here. Just something bit more solid needs to happen with that tree, and then I'm good with it. Here's a funny little. Now, I have been resisting putting out more white, but I'm not doing it. White is one of the colours I actually did manage to um, get more of in this. Sorry, I'm messing around with this now. As you can see, I find some of the grasses and things a lot more challenging to do than other bits because um, the brush isn't really doing the kind of thing I want, and the kind of Chinese, Japanese style brushes I have would work for this, and I'm sort of saying I don't want to mess them up using them on the wrong kind of paint, so I'm resisting using those. So that's slightly better. Don't want to have too much of that kind of thing going on in it, but I want the road to come down the side. Now, where do I want to have bits of green going on? I don't want to have too much really bright green going on because it just takes away too much from other things. But yet, there was some green going on. I'm just putting that shape in there because I know this is the cow field. So that's supposed to be a cow. It looks more like a deformed sheep, but all right. So we're nearly at the end of the second one. So I mean, the pace was blistering on that one, wasn't it? But it just kind of it started going nice from the beginning, really. I mean, you mightn't like it, but I do. I think that's nice. It's got a nice, feel to it, a nice airy feel. I'm not sure about this over here. Oh no, I'm not getting a bit of paint on myself. I cannot get the color I want here. That takes too much from the color that's already there, you see. Let's go back over with some of the very dead green there. And in fact, that makes another really nice, weird leaf shape. Look. See, I don't want to keep repeating that too much if I find a shape like that because you just end up with this little patterned looking sort of illustration, really, you know, when you overuse pattern. I prefer to just get the odd random effect going on and say, hey, that was happy accident. I don't know if you know what I mean, but I do some really daring in there, put a bit of purple. But you see, it's purple mixed in with green, so yeah, I think that makes sense. And the daringness in something like this can then have a chance to seep into your other work, you know, and make it kind of more loose, more interesting, just nice. So I'll leave that at that maybe. Stop this. Okay, so that is our second one, our second impression. So let's move on to third impression. So I like that one. Happy with that. And of an evening after working like that, it would be a nice idea uh, to pin those up. I have a door here beside me, which is handy to pin those up on your door, or just, I have mounting tape, which is sticky tape, but it comes off quite easily. And you could put them up on the back of the door, and just as you pass by them a few times during the evening, decide if you like them, how you feel about them. I think I'm still going to like that second one. Okay, I liked those colours I had in the trees, some of the accidental marks. This one is going to be tricky. I just have this idea this one's going to be tricky, but I am buoyed up by having done the last one. So, and I have all these delicious mixed paints that look very mucky on the palette, but are going to be so helpful for getting those lovely subtle in-betweeny colours and freeing you up, you see. Just wonderfully freeing when you've got a lot of colour like that out. So yeah, I'm going this way again on this one because we're not seeing the whole tree in this one either. And this is a very spring colour sky I have here altogether. It was actually bluer than that when I was out. My palette is a bit mucky. So a lot of the sienna, a lot of black in with the sienna for these kind of tree colors. And I'm doing a bit of drawing with this one. There were kind of all these little bushes under the tree that I want to get some of the feel of. I don't know. I think they seemed important somehow in it. You find out when you're doing these things, these impression paintings, that you find out what bits of composition were important to you and what bits were not interesting to you uh, by trying to remember things about them, basically. Now, I have to get some more stuff out, I think, because I might have to even scrape the palette a bit because I just have no space left in the palette. I have so much mixing. It's um, a trade-off between creativity and the mess on the palette, encouraging the creativity, and just then descending into chaos. And if you descend too far into chaos, it ruins the creativity. So it's all very finely balanced. Um, so again, trying to get the kind of swing and rhythm of these upper branches, and there are actually a few kind of large central branches around which everything else revolves in this. And there's a lovely kind of a swing in the middle of the composition. And you see this side of the sketch here. I don't really know what was going on there. I think it might have been like background reddish sets of trees. Um, but I'm not sure. I don't have a clear picture in my mind. at all. I remember there were kind of a lot of. I remember that bit being tricky because there was a lot of brush that I think had been cut off the tree, possibly. I don't think they were. There was a bush, but then there was brush here that didn't seem to be part of the bush, so it might have been the case that somebody had thrown in stuff um into the sort of ditch they around here to keep the fields from getting too wet. They dig a ditch around the fields, around every field, and all the water drains off into them. But when they cut trees back, um, they'll throw all the branches down into the ditch. So I think that's what had happened there. And this tree was growing on the edge of that sort of ditch. And then this was kind of interesting to me, actually, now that I'm thinking about it. Talking my way through it is sort of helping me think a bit. Um, there was this lovely um, grassy thing going along the edge of the ditch. And in fact, I am going to put another piece of paper under that because I am going to ruin this. Uh, I just need a bit more protection because I'm going to be doing this kind of thing. So, along the edge of where that ditch was, this is me kind of cleaning the palette as well, if you haven't noticed. Along the edge of where that ditch was, there were grasses all in a nice line going down the slope. And I've got some lovely dark purples from the last uh, painting. So the dark purples and the dark greens would be all very much down in that ditch. So I can get some of those down here. And so this painting there's a lot of sort of scrubbing around of textures and things before I can sort of get much done at all with it. So I think I'm going to establish a nice sort of a mid green because my memory of it is that along that side of the road, that little bit of grass was trying to grow and starting to grow. It's not as bright as I'd like, but good for underneath. I can go over some yellow. And then back here, so parts of the field were a bit green as well. And up here, because we had some of that ivy happening here. And there was a weird, wait till I change my brush here. There was a kind of a bubbly feel to this foliage because of the shapes that the ivy was making. But the bit I think is maybe put me off a bit that I might change next is the color of the sky because the sun came out briefly and was, I wouldn't say it was glorious now because it was cold and it wasn't the sun was a little bit watery, but there was definitely a bluer sky going on than that. So I think we will grab ourselves some white and make a nice blue sky, a decent blue sky. Yeah, that's it. The cyan blue for that nice spring blue sky. Ultramarine is more of a more summery sky, and the cyan has more yellow in it when you think about it, so it's not too surprising, is it? So I'm sort of avoiding the branches I have already there, but it's handy because I can make the branches a bit thinner. So that's a lot better. When I get rid of all that grey, it'll be a lot better. I don't mind having grey in the branches I'm painting, but not in those bits. So far, this one is not feeling at all like the scene. And I don't know, sometimes you see your own mind is your worst enemy because I said to myself when I was starting this, you might have heard me say, this is going to be difficult. So you can start out with some silly idea that messes you up in advance. I mean, why would this one be more difficult than anything else? Not necessarily. See? Okay, I've got rid of some of the greyness of it. A bit more blue as it comes down. Now, yellow. And I want I'm looking for a palette knife and it's in my I want a nice bright yellow for in here for the field. But it is going to be kind of an ochre yellow, but be a nice bright thing. Oh yes, that's the sort of it. Because it's all dead, kind of a dead grass in the field still. And then I'm going to have little bits of sort of orangey coloured brush going on as well and carry that into the background. So I'm getting out a bright orange. And I've sort of forgotten I'm not working with oils because I could have actually done the slightly watercolory thing with that, but I forgot. I forgot what I was doing. Forgot to kind of water it down a little bit. And there are some lovely yellows in this set. Look at that. I'm a huge fan of orange since kind of last year. I started using, somebody had given me these very old oil colors, and there was a little tiny tube of orange in them. And I don't know if that was the color it was originally because the oil paints were 50-year-old oil paints. And some of the colors had been damaged in the tubes after lying around for so long in metal tubes. But the orange was beautiful, and I tried to get another set of the same things just to find the orange in it again, and they don't make it with the orange in it anymore. But I ended up trying out different oranges and everything, and I now absolutely love oranges. And why I wasn't into them before as a that into them as a landscape painter. I mean, I was using them, but just not terribly effectively. I mean, look at even that; it's not a very bright orange, but in the midst of that um very dead green, see what it does? It just does something amazing to it. Just sort of picks it up and adds something really interesting into it. And this is what I'm doing with these scrubby bits. I'm putting in the midtones and the dark tones, but some of the midtones are very zoomy, kind of orangey colours. And then look at that orange, the way it's sitting on that. Ooh, ooh, doesn't that make you happy? Makes me happy. And let's get a red, because some of these, just make that a brighter pink. Some of these trees have kind of reddy bits in them as well. These are just some of the backgroundy ones that are in the fields behind. And then, of course, purple with orange is just a delight as well, isn't it? So now I want to get some of the colours into this tree. And I can't remember the colour properly. I don't remember if it was a very bright sienna or a grey, and actually it might do both. So I might come along and go with the brown, the sienna, but leave some grey in there, and then I'll also have dark brown going, just to suggest the light sort of playing. It's kind of a no-brainer that some of the upper branches were very orangey red, because they just tend to be in these sorts of landscape subjects. The little branches are always very red. I mean, you can get grey edges on them and things, but now this is where it all starts getting very brushy. But I don't want it to be too reddy all over, so some of the brush is going to be that ochre. And, I'm using white to bring up the colours as well, just to imply the sun catching it on one side. Because the sun was over there. Bring this out a bit because it's a little bit mean looking. And then start working in some of the dark areas. And I mean, it did look a little bit anemic, so I didn't have any of the darks in. So this was quite a strongly lit subject compared to the others strongly lit from the side. I mean, because the last subject I did was, it was strongly lit in a way, but it was a dark ish silhouette sort of feel, and then a lot more misty in the background. And that's too broken. I like that color. A lot of the colors now at the moment I am not thinking about, uh, and I don't know how to describe the what's happening on the bow of that one. No idea, because I don't have a very strong idea of it in my mind. So maybe this is why I'm thinking, oh, this one is difficult to know. I don't like this subject as much as the other subjects. For some reason, it didn't have as strong a resonance, if you like, with me. Um, I mean, it should be as interesting as the other ones, really, because every landscape subject is interesting, but it just didn't, wasn't as exciting as the other ones, I didn't think. It's a very exciting subject, but to me, just as a personal thing, maybe if if I hadn't seen the other ones and I was just working with this one, yeah, I would probably get all excited about it and think it was the most interesting thing. Uh, but because I liked the other two things I was working with, it wasn't all on the same day. I think it was on 2 different days during the week. Um, I think I should remember. It's not that long ago. This one is sort of turned into a drawing in a way, which is a bit odd. I don't know what I'm doing with it really. What am I trying to achieve here? I don't know. It's not getting a direction the way the other ones did. It's just very. It's not happening with this one. I shouldn't keep saying it because I'm reinforcing it every time I'm saying it, but I just can't get into it the way I did the other ones, which is a pity for the last one I'm working on. Um, would have been nice to end on a triumph, but you see, it's your impression, and the original impression I had of the piece was not, I wasn't super excited about it and really wanting to paint it. It was the third piece that I did, so I said, yeah, I'll include that one. So, it didn't turn into anything more exciting in the painting of it, so I feel like this one is a bit of a dud. But it was still interesting to have a go and see, well, did it turn out as a dud? Yes. You know what I might do? I might get my little rigger and have fun with my rigger just to finish with. Uh, because I saw this the other day and I said, oh, I'd love to break out that rigger. And then I had this thought, but am I doing anything good enough to use it? And I thought, oh, don't be like that. Just use your material. So this is the rigger, right? And this will cheer me up about this painting not working out well because I love using this. But they don't last in this great state for that long. It's like my hands, they fall apart very quickly and get ruined. Uh, but they're very nice for doing little lines. And I like doing, there's a lot of little sort of brush going on up here. And I like getting my rigger out for doing things. So let's just have fun to finish up. So I'm going to mix up a nice brown that I like. And hopefully the rigger can. Look at that. You see why the rigger makes me so happy? Look at the little lines it makes, how nice they are. And as I say, it gets a bit ruined after a while, but I have noticed my brushes that I am due very soon another order of brushes. So I get brushes from Rosemary and Co. Recently I've been buying more from her. So I think I'll put in an order of brushes with them and get some more riggers. And it's not too horrendous a process because I have a little catalogue and I have all the brushes that I ordered the last time marked in the catalogue. So I just sit down, go through my brushes and say, okay, what have I got that's wrecked that I need again? And order off the site that way with a list of what I already know I need. And just, it only takes me 10 minutes then on the site. It's great. See, that's better. You see, it needed that. That's a little better. It needed that lovely swoopy swoopy to happen. And if I come along and do make this a paler, I'm breaking all my own rules here. I'm dipping into the palettes without using a palette knife. Now, this is what happens late on in the session. I get terribly messy. Um, but I don't mind too much at this stage of my use of this particular palette because I'm down near the end of a lot of tubs in this. This is the Maya Himi set, if you're wondering. And I'm always raving about it. I love it. It's a student set, and the price reflects that, but it's so handy. And I love having the palettes just open all the time, that you don't have to go off, squeeze a tube, get it all ready. Now look at that. That section now is back to making me happy again. So sometimes with the painting, just having a corner of it working can make your day. So let me go into that corner and just humor me for a minute while I indulge myself and enjoy this corner. Because the careful painter in me is always waiting to spring back into action. But I also love doing that painting up to a line thing because you can get very nice little sweet little lines out of that. And you can do really nice skies in between foliage. And I just enjoy spending time looking at the negative spaces between branches. It just makes me very happy. So, from a painting that a few minutes ago I was going, ugh, I'm really not liking this. Uh, I can still find a corner of it that makes me really happy. Hurrah for painting! What could be nicer than painting? So, this now, with this happening, is getting more of the feeling that I had with this tree. I wasn't crazy about the subject, but I think this is the area of it that I was finding a lot of the interest in. And, that middle kind of curve of things was nice as well. But it just, I don't know, it wasn't really doing it for me, clearly. I have acres of the purple in this left. I only noticed because I was reaching in for the purple because I want to mix purple and green together to make a nice grey look. Look at how nice that grey is. And I'm modifying some of the background with that grey and parts of the tree. I don't know. You see, I'm not enjoying this bow because I don't know what the bow is like. I don't know. I don't know what it was like. And I'm not feeling it. I'm not feeling it as feeling like what it feels like in my mind's eye because I don't know what it feels like. Um, so although sometimes, you get wherever you didn't know you were going by making stuff up, sometimes you don't even get there because you don't know where you're going, you know. Um, and this one is turning into one that, in order to get the feeling of it, I'm just having to paint it that little bit more carefully. I don't know why. I don't know why that is. Um, it's a more structured thing. Maybe that's it. You know, there's a lot of structure going on in this, and very sort of clean lines and everything. I'm not sure. I don't know. No, I went to wipe something and I wiped my. You can imagine that all the doors in the house are covered in paint. At this stage, you can see why that might be. Don't be a painter if you want to be a neat person. I suppose there are neat painters out there. I don't know how they do it. I still want to do something here, and I had something from the back coming to the front here. Oh, that was what I did. That was more to the front. There, see, that's it. That's much improved already, I think, from doing that. This branch is a more important branch than I was taking into account in my memory of it, because I didn't know what was wrong with it, but it looks instantly better from. I better move my sleeve out of the way. It looks instantly better from doing something with that branch. So I'm going to have that branch coming down here, and there's another thing happening with the branches over here. So might have to get the ruler out. This one is taking longer than I thought. But you know, every painting has its own kind of life, doesn't it? So this one wants to take its time, clearly. And you know, I'm trying to stay loose, but there's no point in being loose for the sake of being loose if it's not working, is there? And this is the same deal. There's all this background, tiny branches happening. This was a very, I suppose it was a mature tree, fairly mature tree, and it had uh, a lot of fairly thick lower boughs, several boughs, and then quite a lot of action going along in the upper branches. See the way, like sometimes you have to go back and put in a bit of something else to make something make sense at all. But for down here, I thought I took out loads of purple now. Putting quite a lot of purple in the dark bits. Trying to get that to make that makes no sense now anymore. It seems to have completely disappeared in in the the painting in relation to the drawing, the way I'm looking at it. But I'm just kind of making up an extra swerve of the branch now. Nah, I don't think I'm going to be able to make this one work at all. don't have that good a memory of this one either. I think it's just so complicated. There was all this stuff behind the bows going on. This ivy was kind of fluffing out behind the bows and not really coming around to the front of it at all. So it's rather strange. This has turned into a coloured drawing. I mean, my stomach is reminding me, hey, it's hungry. Yeah, you see the way it just turned into this little boring little drawing where I'm just outlining things. So I would say that's a fail, this picture, just a fail. And it's like the chameleon one that I was working on during the week. There is a point with paintings that you can say to yourself, okay, that one is not going to work no matter what I do. It's just past the point of working. It's never going to work. But you can still work on them to learn things, usually, right? Sometimes they get too overloaded and clogged up that you can't do anything with them either, you know. But I would still not crumple it up into a little ball and throw it away because I'd look at it for, a few days. Um, and sort of say, oh yeah, this bit didn't work because, and then you realize reasons different bits didn't work. So the learning is still going on after you're finished. So I won't get rid of this one for that reason, but I'm going to hate looking at it later. Because it's just this mucky, awful thing that doesn't know what it wants to be and never got to be anything very interesting. Uh, but like as I'm working on it here, there's still marks going on, and I go, let's just play. So even when it's not successful, if you can continue to play with the thing, um, in a way that's going to be in some way constructive or instructive, that's good. You know, you're still learning, but but you do have to know when something isn't working because, like with the chameleon one. I just thought, yeah, I'm still learning, but I do know it's not going to work. So I'm like Elvis. I left the building a while ago on that one. But in a sense, I'm still there. But one more day, and I'm gonna just say, okay, I'm not even learning anything because if you spend too long with a painting that you're getting hate, that's not good either. That's not good for you. Um, because you're bringing the experience of failure in a bit too much into your work and sort of teaching yourself that if you're failing with something that you just keep at it even when you know you failed. So you shouldn't be doing that. And like even here, I know this one isn't working, but like the fact that I can accept it, I'm just sitting here and I'm enjoying watching paint go on all the same. But I've stopped mentally really engaging with it or caring that much. I actually got better once I got rid of some of the white bits in it, but because they were reading it, but it is a mucky mess, and I do hate it. So we're going to leave it at that. And that was a big long session, 2 hours. Um, I did one painting I really liked, one painting that was okay, and the last painting I didn't like. So that wasn't a bad session. So I got one nice one that fulfilled the promise of loose impressionism or loose impressions, really. It's not, kind of is impressionism in a way, but it's not because I wasn't there doing it, you see, at the scene. This was an impression that was based on me having been at the scene, having done sketch, but working just from memory. So let's go out with the reminder again.